Mulholland Drive is a David Lynch masterpiece and has all the standard Lynch trademarks. A narrative that doesn't always make sense, seemingly unconnected vignettes, and scenes rich with symbolism. It is for these reasons that there are multiple interpretations of Mulholland Drive, and as Lynch has remained cryptic whenever pressed for answers, there can be no definitive guide when it comes to explain all that Mulholland Drive means. Nevertheless, I'm going to take the next few minutes to offer my own explanation and analysis of a movie which has intrigued and engaged so many. Mulholland Drive makes a lot more sense once the entire film has been viewed, as there are some major revelations in the latter half of the movie. The tale is essentially the story of an embittered actress who takes out a hit on her ex-lover and professional rival. Diane Selwyn came to Hollywood from Deep River, Ontario with dreams of making it big. She won a dance competition back in her hometown, and her success spurred her on to pursue a career in Hollywood. Unfortunately, in Hollywood, she's a small fish in a big pond, and success has eluded her. The same isn't true for her friend and lover Camilla Rhodes, a strikingly beautiful actress who appears to have gotten ahead using her looks and sexuality. Diane and Camilla met on the set of a film called The Sylvia North Story, which was directed by a Bob Brooker. Both Diane and Camilla tried out for the lead, and it was Camilla who got the part. Diane feels professional jealousy over Camilla's success, while at the same time, she is also in love with her. The pair are engaged in a sexual relationship. However, Diane isn't the only one who has been seduced by Camilla's charms. A love rival emerges in the form of their current director, Adam Kesher. Kesher has recently split from his wife, who was sleeping with the pool man, and he and Camilla have embarked on an affair. Diane is at an all-time low, and she snaps when Camilla and Kesher announce plans to marry at a dinner party. Soon afterward, Diane takes out a hit on Camilla, but she is engulfed by guilt. Unable to deal with her failure as an actress and the evil she has just committed, Diane falls into a dreamlike state where she reimagines the events in her life. Diane repurposes places and things from reality into her fantasy, and it is this fantasy that we, the audience, watch unfold for a significant portion of the film. When Diane eventually emerges from her dream, fear, depression, and guilt lead her to experience a hallucination which triggers her climactic suicide. She takes a gun from her bedside table and shoots herself in the head. Near the beginning of the film, we are in Diane's apartment and can hear what could be the sound of someone smoking cocaine. The film then pans across to Diane's red pillow. This is one of the many hints and references to dreams that the audience will receive during the film, indicating that some of what we will be watching will be an illusion. Diane is experiencing a drug-induced stupor, where she dreams that for once things go her way. She both gets the girl and the career she's always wanted. Diane begins her journey at a jitterbug dance, where she appears to have won a competition. She is flanked by a smiling elderly couple, who could be her relatives or even the competition judges. This couple is from Diane's innocent past before she became disillusioned by the Hollywood dream. A woman is riding in the back of a car as it travels across Mulholland Drive. The car abruptly stops and the woman protests that they don't stop here. One of the two men sitting in front turns around and points a gun at her. It looks like the woman will be killed. But before that can happen, the car is hit by another car which comes screeching around a corner. The woman escapes the accident and makes her way across iconic Hollywood streets looking for a place to go. The hit on her has been unsuccessful, and we will find out later that she has also lost her memory. This entire scene seems to be some sort of wish fulfillment for Diane, as there is a large part of her that hopes the hit on Camilla will not have been executed. At Winkies' diner, two men discuss a dream, yet one more reference to a dream. During Diane's stupor, her mind will make multiple efforts to rouse her and get her to face the reality of what she has done and what she has become. This scene is one such effort. When Diane took out a hit on Camilla, she made the arrangements with the hitman in this very diner. The man discussing his dream is someone Diane saw and took particular note of the afternoon she arranged to have her girlfriend killed off. It is an interesting fact about dreams that everyone in them is someone we have already seen in reality. This man speaks about how he has had a dream about a monstrous man living outside the back of the diner. In order to reassure him, his companions suggest they go outside and make sure that there is nothing there. However, there is something there, a terrifying-looking tramp. This tramp represents evil and failure and is an embodiment of what Diane feels she has become. Earlier in the conversation, when the younger man declared he never wanted to see the tramp outside of his dream, he is expressing Diane's wishes. As Diane is not yet ready to face what has happened, the man faints at the sight of the tramp, and we go on to different scenes. In Diane's dream, she reimagines herself as a character called Betty, who is sweet and spunky. We are first introduced to Betty as she arrives in Hollywood. She is accompanied by an older couple who she has met on her plane journey there. We've already seen this couple before at the Jitterbug dance. They wish Betty good luck on her Hollywood dream and she bids them farewell. Although a friendly goodbye, this interaction feels unnatural because of the kitsch dialogue and Betty's delivery as if she was starring in an old Hollywood film. The older couple ride away, smiling in an unsettling manner. As we watch this film unfold, there will be many instances where things don't feel quite right with what we see on screen. The reality that we are presented with will often seem just a little off balance. Betty obviously has stars in her eyes, and it's clear from the start that luck will favour her. A minor example of this is when her bags are immediately picked up and placed in a taxi, ready to take her wherever she wants to go without her having to ask. Betty makes her way to an apartment that has been lent to her by an actress aunt who is travelling for work. She meets her landlady Coco, who shows her her apartment. But Coco isn't really Coco the landlady. She is in fact Coco, Adam Kesher's mother. The audience will meet her later in the film, but Diane has met her already and has decided to use her as the character of the landlady in her dream. This is yet another example of Diane repurposing something from her reality into her dream. Betty explores her new living quarters and encounters the beautiful woman from the car accident taking a shower. The woman adopts the name Rita after realizing she can't remember her name, and Betty assumes she is a guest of her aunt. Shortly afterward, when Betty speaks to her aunt and realizes that Rita isn't her aunt's guest, she confronts the beautiful stranger. Rita then confesses to Betty that she doesn't know who she is. She says, "I don't know who I am." This is an intriguing line in the film as it describes the truth in many ways. It is of course Diane who doesn't know who she is. This is not reality. Betty and Rita do not exist. Diane also can't come to terms with what she has done by arranging to have Camilla killed. When Rita tearfully says her line, Diane is expressing her deepest thoughts about her own self. Along with Betty and Rita's story, another parallel story involving Adam Kesher unfolds. Kesher is a hot young director and is in the process of recasting the lead actress in his new film. He is then confronted by a shadowy mob-like Hollywood system, where menacing men insist he cast a pre-selected candidate. Kesher initially refuses, but quickly realizes the influence these people have. His film production is halted, his finances are stopped, and he receives multiple veiled threats. Kesher concludes he has no choice but to accede to their request. The king of Hollywood, who controls it all, would like Adam Kesher to cast the actress none other than Camilla Rhodes. But this Camilla is not the real Camilla, but a blonde who represents Camilla the actress, the one who takes away Diane's roles. Diane has seen this blonde before, at the party where the real Kesher and Camilla announced their engagement. Diane has taken this blonde and has repurposed her for her dream. She is to represent the Camilla who is Diane's professional rival. So Diane has split the real Camilla into two parts. The brunette Rita, who personifies the Camilla that Diane loves, all innocence and sensuality, and the blonde Camilla who personifies the Camilla that Diane hates, the woman who attains parts unfairly and stands in the way of Diane achieving her ambitions as an actress. In the film, Betty gives a memorable audition where we see her acting skills in action. She sheds her wide-eyed persona and reveals the fact that she is a tremendous actress. Amongst the people Betty is auditioning for, there is a certain Bob Brooker, the same director who didn't give Diane the lead part in the Sylvia North story. In this version of events, Bob Brooker is shown to be an incompetent director, and judging by the sidelong glances he elicits from his peers, he is not very well respected. After Betty delivers her tour de force, most of the room are bowled over, but Brooker remains seemingly unmoved and unaware as to what he has just witnessed. In Diane's dream, Brooker is the kind of director who doesn't know talent when confronted with it. After her audition, Betty is whisked away by a powerful casting agent who wants to show her to Adam Kesher, and they make their way to where Kesher is auditioning for the lead for his film. When Kesher spots Betty, he appears to be immediately drawn to her, but his hands are tied. He can't explore his interest, professional or otherwise. He must cast the blonde Camilla as his lead, and as such, the fate of the movie is sealed. This is Diane subconsciously reasoning why she didn't get the leads in the films she tried out for. It wasn't owing to a lack of talent, but because either the director was too obtuse, i.e. Bob Brooker, or there was a conspiracy to cast another actress, i.e. Kesher being coerced into hiring blonde Camilla. Intrigued by Rita's story, Betty convinces her new friend to try and solve the mystery of her identity. Rita remembers that on the night of the accident she was meant to be going to Mulholland Drive, and this snippet of information kicks off their investigation. The pair find themselves at a familiar Winkies. This Winkies is set on Sunset Boulevard. This is a reference to the famous 1950s film of the same name. Sunset Boulevard is the tale of a once successful Hollywood movie star Norma Desmond, who cuts a tragic figure as she lives in a fantasy world, unable to accept that her star has long since faded. This is but one of several references to Sunset Boulevard in Mulholland Drive. In the scene where Betty arrives at Paramount Studios for her audition, Norma Desmond's classic car can be seen sitting behind the gates. In the film, Lynch is drawing parallels between Norma and Diane, who have both retreated into a dream world of their own making, as they are unable to cope with their reality. Both women fell for the Hollywood dream, only to be left devastated by it. At the Winkies, Rita and Betty are served by a waitress sporting the name tag Diane. The real Diane has actually seen this waitress before, while discussing the hit on Camilla with the hitman. Diane has once again repurposed a character from the real world into her fantasy. The waitress was actually called Betty, the name that Diane has adopted for herself in her dream. Upon seeing the name tag, Rita's memory is jogged, and she remembers what she thinks might be her full name, Diane Selwyn. Reality is once more making an attempt to assert itself and break Diane's dream state. The pair look up the name Diane Selwyn in the phone book and attempt to call her. Betty delivers the ironic line, "It's strange to be calling yourself." In Diane's dream, we see the hitman she hired to kill Camilla embark on an accidental killing spree. He was only attempting to kill a single individual, but bungled the attempt and killed both a next-door neighbor and a janitor in order to take care of any potential witnesses. As he's about to make his escape, he accidentally sets off the fire alarm. He then quickly grabs a book of telephone numbers off the desk of the man who was his original hit, and then he runs off. This incident could again be a form of wish fulfillment on Diane's part. She imagines the hitman to be so incompetent that it is feasible that he was unsuccessful in killing Camilla. The book of numbers may be the overt reason for Diane placing him in this vignette, but what she really wants is an illustration of his ineptness. The book is one she saw him holding when she gave him the go-ahead to kill Camilla, and she repurposes this book to be the reason behind the killings in her fantasy. We encounter this same hitman again later in her dream, when he's speaking to a prostitute and inquiring about a missing girl, indicating that in Diane's dream, Camilla did indeed escape the hit. A missing girl was previously referred to earlier in the film within the Hollywood conspiracy tale. The king of Hollywood sets off a chain of telephone communications and declares that a girl is still missing. This chain ended by ringing a black phone next to a red lampshade. We later see that this is actually Diane's telephone. Betty and Rita decide to locate and visit Diane Selwyn's apartment. Once there, they meet a lady who has swapped apartments with Diane, and she points them toward the direction of Diane's new apartment. This seems to reflect reality. In the film, when we meet the real Diane, we meet her neighbor too, when she knocks on Diane's door to pick up some of her things. There is a slight similarity in looks between Rita and the neighbor, and during their encounter they eye each other suspiciously. The nature of Diane's relationship with the neighbor is not made clear, but during their interaction we do pick up that there is some level of familiarity between the pair. When Diane was unceremoniously dumped by Camilla, she may have sought a replacement in her neighbor. In the dream, Betty and Rita break into Diane's home and find a dead woman in her bed. This woman foreshadows Diane's death. Ending her own life is an idea that has already taken root in Diane's mind. Frightened by what they have seen, in a panic, Rita wants to change her appearance and attempts to cut off her hair. But Betty stops her and instead puts her in a blonde wig, which makes Rita look remarkably like Betty herself. This scene is reminiscent of Hitchcock's Vertigo, where the main character attempts to mold his love interest into his perfect lover, and this is exactly what Diane is attempting to do. She is transforming Rita, and this Rita is noticeably more compliant than the real Camilla upon whom she is based. When Rita escaped from her car accident, she brought with her a purse full of money and a blue key. The money is the money that the real Diane handed over to the hitman as the payment for killing Camilla, and the blue key is a hitman's calling card. When Diane is first shown the key, she asks the hitman what it opened, and the question elicits his laughter. The answer may be that it does not open anything. It is his calling card to signify that the deed has been done. In the dream, however, the blue key unlocks a blue box, which once opened reveals everything and shatters Diane's fantasy. One night, Rita has a nightmare, and this leads her and Betty going to a late-night performance at Club Silencio. It is during their time in the club that things start to come to a head. The master of ceremony directly tells Betty, Rita, and the audience that everything is an illusion. Upon hearing this, Betty begins to shake uncontrollably. A woman steps out on stage and gives a heart-rending rendition of Roy Orbison's Crying in Spanish. She sings of her heartbreak and disillusionment at having been abandoned by her lover, and her words resonate with Betty and Rita, who are both reduced to tears. Diane's fantasy is coming to an end, and she will have to face reality soon. Betty then finds a blue box in her purse, and the two women rush back to their apartment to open it. Just as Rita is about to open the box, Betty disappears. The fantasy is shattering in parts. After Rita opens the box, she is engulfed by it, and she too disappears. Betty's aunt makes a small cameo. She's back, or maybe she never left, and she looks into the room where Betty and Rita slept. There is nothing there, no trace of the two women. Everything is back to what it was, and it's time to exit this dream world. A cowboy appears and tells Diane, "Hey pretty girl, it's time to wake up." We have seen this cowboy before, in the conspiracy tale where Adam Kesher is being forced to cast the blonde Camilla as his lead actress. This cowboy imparts two important messages. 1. He tells Kesher that a man's attitude determines to a large extent the course his life will take. This seems to be a message that is meant more for Diane and us, the audience. Diane is fixated on the Hollywood dream, and to a large extent, so are the public. Movie stars are elevated to the position of gods in our modern society, and fame and success is all that matters. The value that Diane has placed on success has cost her her own personal happiness. The other thing of note that the cowboy tells Kesher is that if Kesher is good, he will see the cowboy one more time, but if he is bad, he will see him 2 more times. In essence, it doesn't matter how many times Kesher sees the cowboy. Kesher is, after all, only Diane's projection in a dream. It matters only how many times Diane sees the cowboy, and in total, she sees him 3 times. Once during his lecture to the dream Kesher, once at the party where the real Kesher and the real Camilla announce their engagement, and finally once when the cowboy wakes her up from her stupor. Diane has seen the cowboy 3 times because she has been bad. And we the audience have also seen him 3 times because perhaps we too have been bad. Mulholland Drive is an oblique critique of the way actresses are used and discarded by both the Hollywood system and us the audience once we are done with them. When Diane wakes, she's clearly depressed and things are closing in. The blue key is present, indicating Camilla is dead, and Diane's neighbor tells her that there are detectives looking for her. The blue box makes another reappearance. It is now in the hands of the monstrous tramp behind Winkies. There's a knock on Diane's door. It may be the two detectives looking for her, but what she sees is the elderly couple who were present at the jitterbug contest and at the airport as miniature versions of themselves. Her past has come back to haunt her. Her lost innocence confronts her. Diane backs into her bedroom screaming. She pulls a gun from her bedside table, and we briefly see that the drawer contains a blue box. Diane then proceeds to shoot herself in the head. The color blue is a recurring theme in Diane's dream. After seeing the hitman's blue key and being aware that there is a blue box next to a gun in her home, Diane may have associated the color blue with death. Once Diane pulls the trigger, her face fades away and we see characters from her dream reappear. The tramp that represents evil and failure, and then Betty and Rita during a happier time. Finally, we are taken to Club Silencio, where a woman with blue hair declares, "Silencio." Silence. The tale is now at an end. So that concludes my explanation and analysis of Mulholland Drive. Believe it or not, I haven't covered every aspect of this film, but I've done my best. David Lynch has said his intention was for each viewer to bring their own interpretation to this film. I've given you mine, so why not give me yours in the comments below. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for stopping by and supporting my channel, and please make sure to subscribe to London City Girl for more film analysis videos.